Ever imagine yourself as like the unseen hand-shaping emotion on stage? It's really kind of magical the way a performance lighting designer does that. So today, we're going to dive deep into the world of lighting design, and specifically, how to totally nail that interview, all using these awesome insights we got from RoleCatcher. We're talking sample questions, insider tips, even a sneak peek at how their AI can, like, supercharge your application. Ready to shine.
Let's shed some light on the path to success, really illuminate it.
Love it. So first up, let's set the stage a bit. What exactly does a performance lighting designer do? It's got to be more than just making things bright, right?
Way more. They're basically storytellers, but with light, right? They use it to, like, evoke a certain mood, highlight the action, and they're working super closely with the entire production team. Actually, this career guide we have, it even mentioned creating light art outside of, like, traditional performances. Pretty cool, huh?
Definitely. Okay, so let's say you've got the passion. You're ready to go. How do you actually nail that interview? RoleCatcher had these 8 key questions, so they come up almost every time. Let's start with the first one. It seems kind of straightforward, but maybe it's trickier than it sounds. Describe your experience with performance lighting design. Any traps to avoid there?
Oh, absolutely. It's so tempting to just launch into every project you've ever even touched on. But the key thing here is relevance. This is your moment to showcase the projects that really align with what this specific job description is looking for.
Oh, that makes total sense. This is about tailoring it, right?
Yeah.
Showing them you get their world.
Exactly. Like, imagine you're applying at a musical theater company. They probably care way more about your work on, like, West Side Story than your super experimental installation art piece, even if that one was groundbreaking.
Makes sense to me.
Mhm.
So how do you find that balance? Like showcasing the right stuff.
Think of the job description almost like a set of keywords. If they're looking for someone with, let's say, experience in LED stage lighting, and you have that, make sure you highlight a project that really showcases that specific skill.
So strategic.
Right. And this is where, by the way, you can use RoleCatcher's AI. It can actually analyze the job description A&D, your past experience, and then, get this, suggest which projects you should really be emphasizing.
Whoa, that's like having a personal assistant for your interview prep.
Totally.
Speaking of showcasing, the career guide also mentioned how important a strong portfolio is. Even talked about how to structure it for like maximum impact. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh, the portfolio. It's your chance to really visually narrate all those incredible skills you have. Definitely include high-quality photos, sketches, maybe even breakdowns of the concepts and techniques you use for different projects. It's got to be more than just the final product. They want to see how WP.
It's like giving the interviewer a backstage pass to your whole creative process. I love it. Okay, let's move on to the next question that RoleCatcher highlights. It's, how do you approach a new lighting design project? What are they getting at with a question like that? What are they really looking for?
They want to understand your process. Do you have a structured way of approaching things? How do you make sure to incorporate the client's needs? Do you know how to make sure your vision actually lines up with what the director's going for?
So it's more than just like, I get inspired and then bam, magic happens.
Right. This is where you show them you can think systematically, but also creatively, all at the same time.
It's like turning an idea into a plan and then that plan into like a breathtaking visual experience.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to get specific here. Mention the tools you use, whether it's lighting design software or even just how you collaborate with others. It shows you're organized and you know your tech.
Great advice. Okay, let's talk about something that's always a little, delicate collaboration. RoleCatcher's next question is all about this. It's, how do you manage conflicts or disagreements with clients or other people on the production team? That sounds kind of like a minefield, to be honest.
It doesn't have to be, though. The real key here is clear, respectful communication. Think about it. You're all on the same team, ultimately.
Right, trying to create something amazing together.
Exactly. And this question is a chance for you to show you can take feedback, you can be constructive, and you can integrate all that into your work.
Okay, so it's about more than just defending your ideas to the death.
Way more. It's about being open to hearing other perspectives and finding ways to make it all work.
Like being a diplomat in the world of light.
Exactly.
Love it. Okay, the career guide also talks about, how important it is to be current, to stay updated with all the industry trends. Any tips for how to show that in an interview?
Absolutely. Don't just say you're up to date. Be specific. Talk about the actual tools you're using, industry resources you consult. Maybe you just finished a project where you used a cutting-edge technique. Tell them about it. Or even professional development courses. Anything that shows them you're really invested.
So it's like showing them you're not just keeping up the arches. You're out there leading the way.
Precisely. Now, let's move on to another really common but important question that often comes up in these interviews.
This next question, it kind of reminds me of juggling, like keeping all those plates spinning. RoleCatcher actually specifically asks, how do you manage your time and prioritize tasks when working on multiple productions at the same time? That's got to be pretty normal in this field, right? Like you've always got a bunch of projects going on.
Oh, absolutely. It's super common for performance lighting designers to be juggling, like you said, multiple productions, design projects, all happening at once. It's just the nature of the beast.
So being organized, that's got to be key.
Yeah.
Right? What does that actually look like? Like if you're a lighting designer, how do you stay on top of everything?
Organization is honestly essential in this job. It's more than just meeting those deadlines, though. It's about making sure each and every project is getting, the focus and the creative energy it deserves. And this question, honestly, it's your chance to brag a little. Tell them how you stay on top of it all. Do you use project management software, color-coded spreadsheets, or maybe you're like a really dedicated paper planner person?
Oh, I am all L about those color-coded spreadsheets, let me tell you. But seriously, having a system, that's so smart. Okay, let's talk about, well, the elephant in the room. Or maybe it's more like the potential conflict in the rehearsal space. Another question from RoleCatcher is, how do you incorporate feedback from clients or other members of the production team into your design process? That just seems like a recipe for, like, creative clashes, doesn't it?
It really doesn't have to be. Remember, performance lighting design, it's a team sport. You're part of this team, and you're all working towards the same goal, the same vision. And this question, it's actually a really great opportunity for you. You get to show them that you can handle feedback in a good way, incorporate it into what you're doing. It's a valuable skill.
That's a good point. But how do you do it? Like how do you balance staying true to your artistic vision, what you really want to create, but then also be open to hearing what other people think, especially if it's different from what you had in mind?
It's definitely a balance, that's for sure. I think the first thing is to really, truly listen. Like really trying to understand where the other person is coming from, why they're giving you that feedback. Are they worried about the overall mood, maybe the visibility of a specific part of the scene, or something totally different? Once you get where they're coming from, then you can respond in a way that makes sense.
So it's less about like immediately saying yes to every single thing and more about having an actual conversation, finding solutions that work for everybody.
You got it. Like you could say something like, I totally get why you're going for a moodier vibe in this scene. I used brighter lights at first to really emphasize the actor's expressions, but maybe we can get both. Like what about a softer, more focused light?
Ooh, that's a great example.
Mm-hmm.
You're listening, you're taking their thoughts into account, but you're still using your expertise. Now let's shift gears a bit and talk about RoleCatcher's AI tools. How those can give you a little boost in your job search.
Mm-hmm.
I think we'd be remiss not to mention this, especially when it comes to making your application stand out.
This is where RoleCatcher really shines, honestly. Think about it. It's like having a virtual career coach who's looking at your CV, your cover letter, and saying, okay, here's how to make it even better. And not just in a general way, but based on each specific job you're going for.
Okay, so it's tailored, personalized feedback. That's cool.
Totally. Let's say the job description really emphasizes, I don't know, experience with a certain lighting console. RoleCatcher's AI, it's going to scan all your materials, and if you haven't mentioned that console, it'll flag it for you. That way, you're not missing these little chances to show them you've got what they need.
It's like having a spotlight that's pointing directly at the things you really need to highlight. I love that. And it's not just the CV and cover letter, right? RoleCatcher helps with actual interview practice, too.
You bet. With RoleCatcher, you can actually practice answering interview questions on video, and then you get AI-powered feedback. It looks at what you say, A-N-D, how you say it, which is super helpful.
Wow. So you can basically rehearse for an interview the same way you'd rehearse for, like, opening night of a show.
Exactly. It helps you refine those answers, sound more confident, even master those tricky behavioral questions like, tell me about a time you failed. Everybody hates those.
Oh, the worst.
Yeah.
But having that AI feedback, that's got to be such a game changer.
Definitely.
I wish I had that back when I was starting out, let me tell you.
Mm.
Speaking of starting out, let's dive into a question that's all about, staying ahead of the curve. RoleCatcher asks, how do you keep up to date with the latest industry trends and technologies? Which makes sense because this field is constantly changing, new stuff all the time. So staying current, that's got to be a big deal, right?
Huge. The world of performance lighting design, it moves so fast. There are always new technologies popping up like laser projectors and these crazy interactive lighting systems. It's really exciting, honestly.
So how do you show a potential employer that you're not just keeping up, but that you're like right there on the cutting edge?
This is your time to really let that passion shine through, Talk about the specific publications you read, like PLSN or Live Design. Mention workshops you've gone to on new technologies. Maybe you've played around with some cool lighting software. All that stuff matters.
It's like saying, I don't just know this new lighting fixture exists. I'm already over here figuring out how to use it in like the most creative way possible.
Exactly. They want someone who's excited about innovation and, like you said, always looking to take things to that next level. Now, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about something that often gets overlooked in lighting design, but is so important.
Safety. It's huge in any performance, but especially when you're talking about lighting. And actually, RoleCatcher asks about this directly. The question is, how do you ensure that a lighting design is safe and follows all the industry regulations? Because it's not just about like making it look amazing, right? It's got to be safe too for everybody.
100%. A good lighting designer, they're thinking about safety every step of the way. We're talking powerful equipment, often working up high. So yeah, knowing those safety protocols, that's not even optional. That's like step one.
Makes sense. So how would you answer this in an interview? What are those like key things to get across?
First thing, show them you actually KNO the regulations and standards. Mention the specific ones for like your region or the kind of shows you usually work on. Then talk about how you assess risk. Do you do a super thorough check of the equipment before it even goes up? Are you thinking about, I don't know, tripping hazards with all the cables? Or how much weight those lighting grids can actually hold? That kind of thing.
It's like thinking 10 steps ahead.
Yeah.
Anticipating problems before they happen.
Exactly. You want them to know you're not just reacting to problems. You're out there preventing them in the first place. You could say something like, okay, so before every single production, I do this whole safety check. All the equipment, the rigging, everything. And then I also make sure the cast and crew, they get a safety briefing too. We go over emergency procedures, where the fire extinguishers are, all that important stuff.
Nice. That's a really good example. It shows you've got it covered. From the technical stuff to making sure everyone's on the same page. Okay, ready for our last question from RoleCatcher. It's a good one. It's about handling the curveballs, because let's be honest, in a live production, something unexpected always happens. They phrase it like this. Describe a time when you had to adapt a lighting design to unexpected circumstances. How did you handle it? Everyone loves a good save the show story, right?
Oh, for sure. This is your chance to shine, honestly. Show them you can solve problems, you're adaptable, you don't just panic when things go wrong. Think back to a time when maybe there was a technical issue or a last-minute change to the set or even, the power went out. How did you deal with it? What did you do?
It's those moments, when everything's on the line, that's when you really find out what you're made of.
Totally. So tell a specific story, something that shows you can think on your feet, stay calm, and find those creative solutions even when it feels impossible. Did you have to make it work with only like half the lights working? Did you have to work with the stage manager to like totally redo how a scene was blocked? Get specific.
Oh, good examples.
Yeah.
It's all about showing them you've got the skills, A&D, the resourcefulness to handle anything.
And don't forget to mention what you learned from that experience. Even when it feels like chaos, you can still grow from it,
That is such a good point. It shows you're not just talented, you're also like self-aware and always trying to improve.
This has been awesome. Such a great deep dive into the world of performance lighting design interviews. Before we wrap up completely, any final words of wisdom for all those aspiring lighting designers out there listening? Just this. Never forget that passion you have for this work. Let that shine through in your interviews. Show them your skills, your knowledge, that unique creative spark you have. And of course, RoleCatcher. Seriously, use their tools. It's like having a secret weapon for prepping those applications and practicing those answers. Go get them.
It's like having a virtual mentor right there in your back pocket, ready to help you shine bright. To all you amazing lighting designers out there, go out there, embrace the power of light, tell those captivating stories, and good luck. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.